All right, we know what that is. It's week 3 of the NFL season. Yeah, I still over here got the Dolphin gear on. Hey, I was like, hey, you don't give up just because of the speed bump. So listen, I was like, don't get me wrong. I was like, at least now there's a ceiling to the roof of the optimism for my team. But hey, we gonna maybe we'll let's just get into these games before I just end up just rambling and ranting or whatever. But let's go with we got Bears and Colts. To be honest, with this game, it really seems like what quarterback decides the game, to be honest. I was like, Richardson had a really flashy week 1. I was like, and he had his team there with the Texans going neck and neck till the end. While in the next week, he was basically just overshooting everybody. Like somebody told him he was Steph Curry, except for he can't make any baskets. And they just lost to the Packers. On the other hand, Caleb Williams hadn't looked good in either of his games. I was like, and while some of that could just be rookieisms, he's also missing a lot of plays where it's like that dude was open and that's a regular routine throw you shouldn't make. So this is where you got to look at of like which quarterback decides that they really want to come play and the defense. Because I will say that I think the Bears defense had looked a lot better than the Colts defense, but who's that also to say too at the same time that your quarterback don't put you in situations as well. I was like, I'm going to say the Colts just because I feel like if nothing else, Richardson may have at least a couple of those plays and he can at least always take on the ground and run. Whereas Caleb Williams, I was like, he's still just like figuring out the game, and that boy is just taking some hits right now. And I was like, and some of them, yes, because that line isn't holding up great, and some of them it's just because he's holding up the ball too long, trying to do a lot of his whirly burrow stuff. Don't get me wrong, I was like, there was a couple times that Texas game where it did look fantastic, where it's like how he get out of there. Like Will Anderson almost had him for a second. He just like weave out of that whole thing. But I think the Colts pull out, but I won't say that anything here will be anything crazy of like a high scoring game. This is probably a defensive game. To be honest, it sort of look like that for all the slates of the game. Broncos and Bucks. I'm gonna go with the Bucks. I think they're humming right now. I was like Baker Mayfield got that offense revved up and ready to go, and hell, he juking people out their shoes almost. Yeah, and I was like the defense also hasn't really lost too much of step. Todd Bowles, I was like always got them boys ready to play. So I was like, I think it's from there. I was like, Denver hasn't instilled anything in me to give me any confidence. Bo Nix has looked more rookie-ish for somebody that's been playing college ball for 9 years or 10 years or whatever anniversary or whatever you give them. I was like, I don't see it in them. I was like, the Bucks has also had some pretty close games where it's like they already a little kind of tested, but I was like, they was in the playoff last year and they could have made it. They still got sort of the same team. I was like, Denver, I still think it's figuring out a whole lot of things. But Bo Nix is, I was like, he's a rookie. He's a rookie. Chargers and Steelers. I was like, I'm not gonna lie. I didn't check to see if Herbert was going to play. Whether he plays or not, I don't think that really fully matters because this is talking about. I was like, when I was talking about a defensive game with Bears and Colts, this is going to be a defensive game. This is going to be a hard hitting game. This is going to be back to that old school 90s. Get the ball to your back and let's just see who can keep on trucking. And Marshawn Lynch would say, keep running over and over. That's all this game's going to be. That and defense. Harbaugh, that's his specialty. I was like, Tomlin, that's his specialty. And basically, who comes up with plays against the offense? I was like, if Justin Fields going to make a mistake in this game, if it's Herbert, I was like, do they pressure Herbert? Especially if it's a backup, it doesn't matter at that point. But I was like, J.K. Dobbins have been rolling since I was like, he's been coming out on fire, running the ball last couple weeks. And So I'm like, to me, it just really just depends on, to me, of if a quarterback makes a mistake. Jesus. All right, Eagles and Saints. Whew. I was like, I'm not gonna do it. I'm not gonna do it. I gotta go with the Saints. I was like, they've been killing everybody. They've been out here just running the ball. I was like, the passing scheme. They've been having everyone's number. And the Eagles right now is still looking a little dicey. I was like, how we thought about the Cowboys, how we also thought about the Eagles, and guess what? They have both proved that it's like, hey, they still got sort of the flaws. So, guess what? The Falcons was able to run against the Eagles, and they was able to pass against the Eagles when they needed to as well, too. The Saints are doing all that at the top of their game right now. Now, don't get me wrong, I was like, they might be more prepared than the Cowboys was. You know, I was like, especially coming off of them just losing. But I can see the same thing pretty much happening. I was like, Alvin Kamara's on the road right now. Derek Carr. I was like, I don't think it's gonna be a perfect game. But I do think that you could pretty much say that the same formula is going to happen. I was like, they have it. I was like, the Eagles defense, I was like, at times will be like, oh, okay, look, they're humming, they're doing really good, and then all of a sudden they eventually break. The offense for the Eagles, though, I think it actually been pretty good to where it's like, I do think that they'll be able to put points on the board. I was like, whether it's Jalen Hurts throwing the ball or running the ball, I was like, they've been pretty effective. They've been effective running the ball as well, too. Don't get me wrong. They'll try to stop Saquon Barkley. I think it really all depends on A.J. Brown comes back. I think we sort of seen that if he's not there, the offense just doesn't move as well as it should or whatever, even though you got Devonta Smith and Dallas Goedert. I was like, there might be more of a no, because I was like, they got Demario Davis there too, and I was like, he's a really good linebacker and stuff like that. The Saints also got a defense as well too, but I was like, I think the Eagles will be able to sort of go point for point with them at a certain point. It just all depends on how frequently it is and how is that defense staying on there. But I'm gonna go with the Saints. I was like, I gotta start believing. Giants and Browns, talk about this being a game of. I'm gonna go with Cleveland just because there's nothing about the Giants. I was like, yeah, they played better last week than they did the previous week, but I was like, the bar is so low that you wouldn't be able to limbo underneath it. The Browns, I was like, their offense ain't really been nothing to talk home or talk anything about. I don't know what that saying was, but I was like, I believe that defense will wreck shop against Daniel Jones. I was like, his name was so important that I didn't remember it. That I think that will be the lone way that they really win the game, is really that their defense stepping up and stopping it. Don't get me wrong, I was like, we could end up seeing that the Giants defense look good just because the Browns offense doesn't. That's a possibility too. This is also good. This might be a low scoring game. I was like, unlike the other games where I'm like, it's going to be defense. I was like, this might be a low scoring game just because no, the offense can score, to be honest. But I'll choose the Browns. Packers and Titans. I don't really think that it matters on Jordan Love or Patrick Willis because Malik Willis, just because Jordan Love coming off an injury and they're playing him, he's not at 100%, so we can't expect anything. And also his first week wasn't looking great at all either. But if he's not 100%, I was like, you're already sort of playing a little bit behind. I was like, Malik Willis, I sort of wanted him to get to play just so that he go get the Titans, and it'd just be fun if he beat the Titans with the same formula they pretty much beat the Colts. Yeah, I was like, but at the same time, I was like, don't get me wrong, the Titans defense is here to play. Whatever. I was like, that cliche. But no, I think they have a really good defense to where I was like, I don't know if them just running the ball down the throat like how they did with the Colts is just going to necessarily work. But you know what might work? Having Will Levis give you opportunities. That might actually be what the thing was going to work. I was like, the Packers have a more, to me, I'm going to say opportunistic defense in a way. Now I was like, I'm not saying that, that this great defense or nothing like that. I'm saying that I was like, I feel like when they have a chance to sort of make a turnover, they make the turnover. And guess what? Will Levis will let you do that. I Yeah, but I think no matter who the quarterback for the Packers is, I'm gonna give the Packers the edge here, winning just because when I like sometimes when Will Levis got it going, it looks great, and then when it doesn't, I don't think he's gonna make the same. I don't think he's gonna make the same mistake twice, but at the same time, I think he'll do something against you in the game. I'm gonna go with the Packers here. I was like, but not by like any crazy amount of points. Texans and Vikings, this had a chance to be probably one of the games of the week. I was like, there's like two more on here, but I think this one had the potential to be a really fun game. I want to say high scoring, and about high scoring, I was like, I could see each team being like 24, somewhere around there. I was like, especially I like the Texans, CJ Stroud, like he moves the ball with ease. And he got a plethora of weapons, even if they don't have Mixon coming through this week. I was like, in the Vikings, they've been humming on offense, but Jefferson might not be able to go, and I think that will damper their offense. But I was like, their defense has also been playing pretty well here these last couple of weeks as well. So Brian Flores got the guy that I was like got them playing pretty well to where it might be able to slow down the Texans enough. Because I was like, I will say with the Texans, even though they have the weapons, they sometimes hurt themselves in a lot of situations. I was like, not a lot of situations, but a few situations where it's like they will, we're just like a stall on the drive type of thing. Where it's like they should be over here scoring like buku of points, and they just don't at the same time. But I was like, they'll have the chain moving, and then it'll just stall out kind of thing. And I was like, I think without mixing, I think that's where it hurts at. Because I was like, you don't have that. You don't have that guy just to throw it to when I was like all else fails. But I was like, I think the Texans will win this one or whatever. I was like, their defense is also going with Stingley and Hunter and stuff, and Will Anderson, but Hunter been wrecking shop on dudes, and Will Anderson I was like, he's been doing his thing too. But I was like, I feel like when you got two potent pass rushers, I was like, what can you really do here? So I was like, I'm gonna go with the Texans in this one. Now for my Dolphins and Seahawks. It's going to be the Seahawks here. If this would have been two, I'd have been like, oh, we might get a shootout type of game. Even though, don't get me wrong, we haven't looked great on offense, but I was like, and the defense for Seattle has been playing well as well. But I was like, I always feel like, yeah, but all we need is like 2 or 3 plays and we in the game. And as long as there's no interceptions, we're in the game. That's sort of what happened with Buffalo. But considering we got Skylar Thompson here this week, I was like, I do think that we'll put a good game plan to where it's like the Seahawks will let you be in the game. I will say that they'll let you be in the game more than probably they should. So I was like, I do think that we would have a chance. I was like, but it all really depends on how the defense plays. I was like, our defense has also been able to get ran on, and guess what? Seattle could do, they could run the ball, and then that sets up nothing but them receivers is just go bonkers on everybody. So I was like, I think the Seahawks will get us. I was like, I think McDaniels can only play call so much for the limitation of Skylar Thompson. But it's going to be a Skylar Thompson game. We're just going to have to see how he does or whatever. I don't believe that we'll get Hundley in this game at all. He just got there. Panthers and Raiders. No Bryce Young, so we get Andy Dalton. So we'll see if there's any difference there. But the Raiders, I was like, have been playing competent defense. I know I done said that about a couple of teams, but I was like, defense is up in this league, really, to be honest, where a lot of scoring is down for different reasons, quarterback play and basicness of it all. But I was like, I think the Panthers will look better. They'll actually look like an offense. But I still think the Raiders will pull this out. I think the Raiders I think for what the Panthers are trying to do, I was like, I don't see them having like some 180 turnaround of like, wow, look at them, they're a different team. I think the Raiders will pull this out. Dalton is still Dalton or whatever. Them receivers are still who they are. I think it's just going to look more like actually just like, okay, cool, they actually know how to play offense for the Panthers. That's all. But I was like, you still got Max Crosby that's going to run through that offensive line for the Panthers. 49ers and Rams. Talk about a team of who needs a health bar even more. Because I was like, all of them are, I was like, they're depleted. Kittle might not play. I don't think Debo playing. We know Christian McCaffrey's not playing. So I was like, didn't one of the offensive linemen for the 49ers also get hurt? But the Rams, they don't have both of their receivers. I was like, I think one of their linemen is hurt. So it's just going to be like, who? I was like, but I will say that if we're talking about, I was like, the 49ers, I was like, they have the defense. I think that will I think the 49ers win and beat the Rams because their defense is still all intact with Stafford, who is playing with a bunch of people that we're going to figure out some names that day. We're going to see how legendary Stafford about to be when he puts them all on the back and just take hits, and because he's trying to wait for dudes to get open. But 49ers here. Lions, the Cardinals. I'm going to pick the Cardinals. Yeah. A little, I was like, does it count as an upset? But I'm count as an upset. But I was like, I'm going to go with the Cardinals. I was like, I think the Lions, the last couple weeks have just, I was like, they beat, I was like, they lost against the Bucks. And I was like, I forgot who they beat. Oh, they beat the Rams in overtime. But Jared Goff has been a little bit funky. I was like, he be playing good, and then something will happen where it's just like, ooh, that's good. That might cost him a game. Or he just ain't get it done here. The offense just ain't clicking. St. Brown has been banged up. Williams has been, I was like, other than his great game against the Rams, I was like, he's been a little spotty. I was like, outside of Hutchinson, I was like, you can still do stuff against that defense. You can still run on that defense. But I was like, I think really, to be honest, the improvisation of Kyler Murray is really what it is that's going to really get that defense of the Lions. Just because I was like, I think they improved from last year, but I don't think they're a great defense. And I think somebody playing like the Cardinals is basically, playing Kyler Murray is pretty much will be their weakness. And I was like, don't get me wrong. I was like, they can also run the ball. They can also run the ball. So don't think that it's just going to be just the Kyler Murray show all the time. And I was like, the Cardinal defense hadn't really let loose, and it would just had been disastrous, something like that. They've improved quite a bit to where it's like, as long as the offense can hold up their end, they're fine on their end as well too. But yeah, I was like, the Lions, they just seem a little funky right now. So I was like, I think the Cardinals might get them while they fix and do some things. Ravens, Cowboys. Talk about another potential game of the week. Both teams sort of really need this win. I do think that the Ravens need it more, just because I was like, the Cowboys with the Eagles and stuff like that, nobody in that division is really taking off. Whereas the Ravens, and I was like, and even though the Steelers are the only one that really have they're 2-0 to everybody's like 0-2 or whatever. I was like, the Ravens, I was like, that deep, but that division always picks us up later on in the year. But I was like, they shouldn't have lost to the Raiders. I was like, their offense is just, they don't look as prolific as they was last year. I was like, I don't know, that because people done started figuring on. They look more like how they did in the championship game. They still haven't figured out Derrick Henry, but if there was going to be a team to figure out Derrick Henry against, it's going to be these Cowboys, who, if they can't stop other running backs, they ain't about to stop that big behemoth coming at them either. So I was like, and also too, let's not act like they can't be thrown on. Like yesterday, I was like, I don't think Bland back, but I was like, and they still got Diggs, but they could still get ran on, and also, passed on. But you also got the element of Lamar Jackson. I think that's what's going to be the difference here. I was like, the Ravens always play like pretty good defense. I was like, I know they had a little bit of collapse last week against the Raiders, but I was like, they still. I was like, even though you like you can see where they're missing Patrick and Patrick Queen and Patrick Queen. I was like, I want to say McQueen for some reason. And that I will say that Lamar going to have to do a lot of running. That's why I think the difference is going to be, because I was like, that offensive line is not stopping anybody on the right side. And so Michael Parsons is going to be in Lamar's grill all day. The problem is I was like, there's only like 3 people that can get out of the situation that Michael Parsons about to be in, and Lamar Jackson's one of them. And I think that's going to be the frustrating thing, because after that, who you really got that's going to stop Lamar? And I was like, this could be a breakout game that the Ravens need to really play. And I was like, on the Cowboys, I was like, I don't think that the run game is really as bad as people say. I think it's really more so that it is find themselves in a situation where they got to pass now. And when you got to pass, it's CeeDee Lamb, and they don't use Cooks right at all. They haven't had their tight end. I think that hurts them a real lot too. So that's why I think the Ravens could put together this. The Ravens game might actually be sort of like what the Jets needed to beat the Patriots, where it's just like, oh, okay, cool, this is the game that we need in order to get our ship right. Then the late night game, which could potentially also be another game of the week, is Chiefs and Falcons. Now, Chiefs aside, the Falcons, they got lucky. I won't say lucky, because I was like, that's making it too much. I was like, they were fortunate to win, because I was like, they should have lost or whatever. Kirk Cousins did look better, but they didn't look good. They were able to run the ball really well, but I was like, you're playing a team that can stop your run. You're also playing a team that can stop your passing. And I was like, I like Drake London. He was all right. I was like, it was really Mooney that was really killing the Eagles. But to me, I was like, their passing offense had to look great. While Kirk Cousins had looked better, they haven't looked great. I'll even say they haven't really looked good. And I was like, the Chiefs are really like on both sides of the ball. They're just ready to go. But I will say on offense, I do think they've been I think last week against the Bengals, I don't think they'll look that bad, but I don't think they'll look as good as they did in week 1 against the Ravens either. I was like, with Worthy and Rice, I was like, Kelsey has not really been up to his Kelsey standards, and they gotta makeshift this running game as well too, which is like, I was like, they could get by without Pacheco, but I think Pacheco sets a tempo, and I think he sets up the passing game a lot better than some of the other people they're gonna put in there. Because I was like, Samadi Pre-Brian, I was like he really like a fullback running back. I was like, he's not somebody that I'm like, oh snap, he about to get these 7 yards. He about to get 2 and a pile of dust. That's what he did. He's really good at pass blocking. I will give him that, and he's good on outlet passes. But I was like, running, not really. And I was like, I don't think they really added anybody really either. But I do think I think the Chiefs win. I think their defense is better than Atlanta's defense when it comes to stopping. I was like, but I do think that Atlanta will end up getting Mahomes a couple times. But it doesn't matter. We've seen Mahomes that no matter what he does, he always finds a way out. And if that defense can hold Kirk Cousins and make Kirk Cousins have a hell of a day, doesn't really matter in the end. But anyway, those are just my predictions. Don't go out here betting on any of this, because you can't blame me if you lose money. But anyway, let me know who you got. I was like, but we're going to see how well this week 3. We already starting again in the season. This is crazy where we're going to really start knowing what these teams kind of about to be about. But anyway, till then, peace. I'm out.